Hello and welcome to the May edition of Mytech U, where today we're going to be talking about Your Lion is Killing My Camel. This is based on the book called Make a Difference by Dr. Larry Little. My name is Nathan Austin, and I'll be moderating, and Dave James is joining us to present this presentation, one that we do with our internal team on a regular basis on culture and communication, and Dave will lead us through this. So. Day, a couple housekeeping things before I hand it over to you, Day. Sorry. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, please use the questions panel in the control panel, and we'll be sure to either interject those questions or make sure we follow up afterwards offline. And we are recording this session so that it can be viewed and shared with other folks in the future if you'd like. So, all right. Without further ado, Day, would you take us away and guide us through how your lion is killing my camel?
Awesome. Thank you, Nathan Austin. Hello, everybody. Good morning. My name is Dave James. I'm really honored to be able to take some time with all of you to chat a little bit about Make a Difference. Make a Difference is something that's actually, no pun intended, well, maybe it is pun intended, has truly made a difference here in our organization, and we've found it so effective that we really find great value in sharing it with our business partners and colleagues, and just sometimes it's other businesses that have nothing to do with us, but just people who want to make a difference in their lives. So the screen that I have up here, those of you who are not familiar with Make a Difference, the whole concept of Make a Difference is based on animals. So pause there, though. Let me offer a few house cleaning notes of my own. I've divided up the agenda for today's presentation into kind of 4 different distinct sections. We'll do some introductory comments here, and then we're really going to dig into kind of what the heck is Make a Difference, and then we're going to spend a little time talking about how did Mytech, how did our organization conceive, how did we think Make a Difference would roll out into our organization? How did we do it, and how do we maintain it on an ongoing basis? And then I want to make sure and try to leave time for questions here. So Nathan, I presume you'll insert yourself wherever it seems appropriate. So let's just dig in here, everybody. Make a Difference, the subtitle of the book is called Make a Difference in the Lives You Love, Live, and Lead. The graphic there is indeed the title, or the front cover of the paperback. I always want to mention that first, because Make a Difference is not a book that I wrote, but it is a book that I know quite a bit about. So to give you a little bit of quick background, with a couple of colleagues of mine, I was down in Dallas several years ago. This is about the time Mytech was growing from a small company to a mid-sized company, and part of that growth, we were starting to experience some issues with communication. It took us a while to kind of figure out what was happening, but as we transitioned from a company of 5 or 10 people to dozens and dozens of people with different departments and managers leading different people, it became obvious that we weren't doing a really great job of having really effective communication. So I was at this conference in Dallas, and as it happened, didn't plan it this way, but this author, Dr. Larry Little, author of Make a Difference, was doing a presentation at this conference. I remember kind of rolling my eyes thinking, oh my gosh, this is going to be a 3-hour presentation. Can this possibly be worse? But actually, at the end of that, it actually turned out to be 4 hours. At the end of that 4-hour presentation, I looked at my colleagues who were there with me, and we all just had huge smiles on our face. We thought, we have to roll this out back in Minneapolis at Mytech Partners. Just a little bit about Mytech.
One day, so those of you who forgive me for interjecting.
Yeah, no, please do.
Part of the reason why we are sharing this is not because we're saying this is what you should do, or this is anything that's different than some of the other personality profiles that are out there, DISC or Myers-Briggs or otherwise, but it's just something that we've found successful. Our entire team really loves it, and our goal is just to share it and raise awareness about it, because it's Dr. Larry Little, and this book it's made a difference not only in our corporate lives, but I know I can speak personally. It's made a difference in my communication, even with my wife, and helping us understand each other better and how we can communicate better. So it's just had a big impact, and so that's why we're passionate about sharing, and we so much that we got. So Day is actually a certified on this content because it's something we felt that strongly about. So that's why we want to share it today with everyone, and hope you all enjoy it as the day goes along here.
So to augment those comments, Nathan, yesterday I was doing some onboarding with a couple of our newer staff, and it's part of our process of onboarding new staff here at Mytech. And as it turns out, one of the gentlemen I was speaking to said, "Oh yeah, I already read the book. I already took the test. In fact, I took the test home and gave it to my wife." And so those comments you just said, everybody here loves this so much. They find it really easy to understand the concepts, and they love taking it and sharing it with their own communities and loved ones and people in their church and so on and so forth. So just a super quick primer here about Mytech. Moving on, but most of you know we're a managed service and IT solutions provider. We're over now approaching 17 years old. We have staff, give or take 100. Offices here in Minneapolis, Minnesota, Roseville, Minnesota, actually officially it's New Brighton, Minnesota, and Denver. Our vision is to provide the best IT experience in North America. I think this is worth noting, and it kind of plays into why we love Make a Difference so much. Minnesota Business is a magazine here in town. Consistently, they do this thing once a year where they reach out to the employees of various businesses and get some feedback, and they elect the 100 best companies to work for, Minnesota Business Magazine. What I wanted to point out, there's a little note up in the corner of this magazine. This is last year's copy, I guess, but this is not something that we have any control over. It's the employees of the company have to vote for this. And I believe that one of the reasons our employees consistently vote Mytech as one of the 100 best companies in North America is because I think that Make a Difference is a significant part of why our employees are so happy. Wouldn't you agree, Nathan Austin?
Yeah, and it's best companies in Twin Cities, not North America, but yes, I agree. I think this is something that, but you know, we still have our challenges, and we still work through it, and that's definitely something that we feel this has definitely contributed to our culture, but it's definitely not perfect, and like I said, we're always working.
Did I say best companies in North America?
You did say best companies in North America, yeah.
Come on, man, have some optimism. All right, so yeah, let's move on. I always show this picture. Oops, why is it not moving? There. I always show this picture when I talk about Make a Difference. This is a picture of my parents. It's obviously an older picture. My mom was a terrorist. That's a rocket-propelled grenade launcher. I'm just kidding. When I'm in front of an audience, people always get a kick out of that, and it's a little hard to tell in a webinar. But Mom was actually a physics professor, and that's a telescope. And my dad was an author, wrote books. That's an old school kind of word processor. He was very proud of his transition from typewriters to word processors. The reason I show this picture is Mom and Dad could not have possibly been more different. Mom was a sort of a Mr. Spock-style, logic-oriented human being, physics, right? Everything had to add up, numbers, formulas. Dad, on the other hand, the author, his world was all about stories and color and just having a lot of fun. And so how did my parents get along? They loved each other, stayed married their whole lives. I think that Make a Difference will help explain some of that. So converting some of those concepts of how do people who have completely different personalities get along, if we apply those concepts to a business, very often what happens is people get entrenched in their own personality, and if someone else isn't doing a good job of communicating, are they really not doing a good job of communicating, or is it simply because there's a little bit of a difference in just the way their personality functions, the DNA of the way they communicate? And so very often in an organization, the problem that pops up, as this graphic demonstrates, is some animal types, some people, some personalities are quick to just completely discount anyone else's opinion, and they kind of just get kicked out of the boardroom, if you will, or not, what they have to say is not heard. So Make a Difference, we feel, is a way to take advantage of the diversity in an organization. So one of the prime concepts in this book, it's about validating those you lead. Now, the term you lead is something Dr. Little talks a lot about in his book, which, by the way, it's a 2-hour read for those of you interested. It's something you can read over coffee on a Saturday morning, honestly. It's a pretty quick read. But he chooses the term validating those you lead as opposed to validating those you work with, because Dr. Little believes we're all in a position to lead. You know, we've got kids and we've got loved ones and colleagues and just community members that we talk to, and even the barista at the coffee shop where I stopped earlier this morning. We all have the opportunity to lead people around us by our behavior and the way we communicate. That's why he chooses that. But we're all also very different. So here at Mytech, I mentioned we have 100+ employees. And Dr. Little believes that the secret to success in an organization is to really take advantage of that diversity. Celebrate it. Don't kick someone who is diverse from you in some reason. Don't kick that person out of the business meeting, or you know, you have to listen to what they have to say. We have, as it says here, we have to learn to get the best out of each of us. So let's dig in. What does make a difference? Let's get into kind of some of the nuts and bolts here. A little highlight about Make a Difference. This is a book that's been around for several years, as Nathan mentioned. I actually went down to Huntsville, Alabama, where Dr. Little has a business consulting firm, and he spent some time over a period of several days essentially training me. I'm certified to be a proxy for Dr. Little. I'm aware of the concepts he's trying to administer in his book, but I always want to point out it is his book, not mine. But I feel I've gotten better and better at administering the concepts of Make a Difference. I do presentations not only for our own organization, but we consider this part of our outreach as well here at Mytech. So I'm very often asked to do presentations for Chamber of Commerce, or you know, various business or trade organizations or churches, or so I get around quite a bit doing these presentations. All right, so now we're going to get into nuts and bolts. So Dr. Little believes there's basically 2 myths in every organization or in every personality. Myth number 1, we believe that everyone shares the same value views we do. Myth number 2, everyone views us the same way as we view ourselves. For the purpose of this conversation, I'm going to mostly focus on the first one. We believe that everyone shares the same value views we do. The example I always use is, you know how we all know people who are strong-willed, workaholics, completely sure that whatever they think everyone else must surely agree with. They're completely positively sure they're right. And an example of that might be, let's say you're a workaholic and you love to work 18-hour days. And if you're a leader in an organization, you might be very tempted to just presume that all of your employees also love to work 18-hour days. We, of course, know that's not true, and that's why Dr. Little believes that that value vision is a myth. So the way to get around that is to understand our personality and to understand the personality of those around us. As Nathan sort of hinted at, Dr. Little has extensive, I think he's got a PhD in understanding all these other personality tests. We're all familiar with Myers-Briggs and so on. The problem with those concepts, he believes, is while they're accurate for the most part, and I believe they are, they're also flawed in the sense they might be a little too technical. And people have a little bit of trouble leaving the room with the knowledge of what their personality is and how do you apply that in their everyday world. So Dr. Little believes it just needs to be dumbed down a little bit. And so he thought, well, how can we all just blink a personality type? And he believes that animals are a really awesome way to do that. If you can think about animal personalities, it's really pretty easy to translate that into how humans sort of emulate some animal personalities. So let's start. So he believes they fall into 4 categories. You're either a monkey, a lion, a camel, or a turtle. Monkeys well, I've got some slides here to sort of demonstrate what I'm talking about. Let's start with monkeys. So
Dave, as you go through that, this is one of the key differences when we take people on tours of our office and we have a culture board where we have, you know, kind of everyone names of our staff next to these respective animal characters, and you know, everyone's taken, and I almost ask everyone that's listening right now to think about it. You've probably all taken some sort of a Myers-Briggs or DISC or colors or StrengthsFinder, and to your point, Dave, it's not that those aren't accurate. It's not that they're not helpful. But in my personal experience,
right,
and I would ask you to think about your own personal experience, how well and how many people have you experienced that can actually take that information and use it externally, you know, with other people and have other people really understand what they're talking about, and that's been the challenge that I've always had with those, is that I even there's a subset of the population. It's a small minority percentage of people that I've experienced that actually can take that information and actually use it in their day-to-day world. And this is, we've seen the complete opposite of this, where, you know, definitely greater than 80% of the people in our organization use this language almost every day in their communication, and they're able to apply it to their world. So that's one of the key differences is this particular variable that Dave's about ready to dig into as far as the monkey characteristics.
I can drill down even a little deeper there, Nathan Austin. You know, my job here, everybody, is business development. It's the hat I wear, you know, from 8 to 5 every day. And, you know, that means I'm out meeting with existing clients. It means I'm out meeting with potentially new clients, business we're trying to earn. And, you know, every day it's conceivable I may talk to 5 or 10 completely new people that I've never spoken to. So when I go out and meet with folks, I have to figure out pretty quickly how can I be the best communicator possible in this meeting. You know how it goes. You've only got a few minutes really to make a first impression. So those of you who know me, I can be colorful and even babbly sometimes and go on a little too long. Well, there are certain people out there in the world who absolutely don't care about that. They just want to get to the point. So I have to be able to, in order to be a better communicator, I have to figure out really quickly, in a blink almost, I use that term deliberately, like what kind of person is that I'm talking to. It's not like I can ask that person, hey, what do you like? I have to just kind of figure it out from sometimes even really subtle movements or things that someone might say. So I use these tools that make a difference to kind of help me do that. So the 4 animal types, again to review, monkey, lion, camel, turtle, they basically fall into 2 categories. There's either task-driven personalities or there's people-driven personalities. The much-loved monkey, as Dr. Little calls them, they are solidly in the people category. So when you think about monkeys in the wild, it's not hard to imagine. Monkeys are always in big groups, right? They're always up in trees and seems like making a lot of noise and throwing stuff at each other. And it's also not a huge stretch, I think, for most of you. Don't we all know people in our office, particularly, since we're just kind of talking about this from a professional point of view for the moment, people who love to be in big groups, people who love to gather in the kitchen, people who they can't walk from one end of the room to the other without stopping and cracking some jokes with somebody along the way. And those are monkey-type personalities. They love fun. They're very people-oriented. They're also, because they're people-oriented, they are very attached to their emotions. So monkeys, you have to be a little careful when you're communicating with monkeys, that they can take, if you're not careful, they can take something you say the wrong way. Through the course of this presentation, I'm going to mention for each animal type, what's the one thing that you can do that would be the most effective way to communicate with a monkey. And this is it. Monkeys basically, they want to feel loved. They want to feel valued. They want to feel like they belong. They need that warm, cozy feeling of knowing they're effective and needed in their business. I have some more details here about monkeys, some of the stuff I just said. But do you know what I mean, everybody? Can you imagine there's always somebody in every office that is just the life of the party. Bring that person to a meeting and they're going to crack jokes. Bring that person to If they're in front of a company-wide meeting, somehow they'll find a way to make everybody laugh. Now, Dr. Little believes that the real value of that, so I make it sound like it's a bad thing. It's not at all. In fact, Dr. Little believes that monkeys serve in a business environment a really valuable purpose of knowing just what's the vibe of things. Like if there's some stress in your business or something going on, whether it's a really good thing or a really bad thing, monkeys have this insanely accurate way of just kind of sensing, man, what's up? Something's going on. And so it's really important to listen to monkeys and kind of not just ignore their noisiness, if you will. So if you are in a professional relationship with a monkey, Dr. Little talks about how do you communicate then? How do you communicate with a monkey? How do you validate a monkey? What they need are eye contact, words, and touch. Touch is really important to monkeys. Eye contact is too. It all kind of feeds into that emotional component I mentioned. The quickest way to destroy a relationship with a monkey is to just be consistently negative. Monkeys do not respond well to that. They may not even say it. I can give you an example. I'm a monkey, and I'm a camel monkey. I'll get to the scoring part here in a minute. But when I have a client that's unhappy with me, or God forbid they lose a client, of course it happens, it's just business, or a prospect that maybe chooses to go another direction rather than with us at Mytech, I go into kind of a 2-day professional hangover, I call it sometimes. I take it personally. I cannot help it. It really affects me negatively. Monkeys, so not a surprise, monkeys have great people skills. They just simply won't tolerate people around them to make them feel guilty or ashamed. So the part in red on each of these slides are the real significant bullet points that I want to stress for each animal type. So when you talk to a monkey, here's how you validate a monkey. So let's say you're in a meeting. We'll use that as our kind of baseline here. If you're in a meeting with a monkey, you have to somehow, some way approve him or her, the person. This is not about saying you did a good job. This is about saying, wow, you are really good at this. I really value you greatly. Thank you for being here. Let's talk about the details. That matters. Now, if you're someone who's task-driven, you may not care about that. You have to kind of get out of your comfort zone to talk in those terms. So if you're someone who just likes to get right down to the facts, it's really important when you converse with a monkey to be, maybe try to be a little playful if possible, even if you're faking it. Touch is important. I don't mean, like we have a couple of monkeys here in our office who are constantly hugging. I'm exaggerating for the purpose of demonstration, but even a handshake, I notice when I'm out, if I'm meeting someone I know is a monkey, it's very common for there's a handshake, and maybe I'll even put my other hand up on someone's shoulder just as a way of, showing them how important they are to me. So let's move on. Camel. So camels are in the task column. So if monkeys are people, camels are tasks. So in Make a Difference, the concept basically revolves around the task of getting things done. There's different ways to get things done. And the way camels do that, it's about details. So when you think about a camel in the wild, they, meticulous step after step after step walking across the desert. They will, one way or the other, they're going to get to where they have to go. So the people version of camels tend to be list takers. They're perfectionists. They are really, really focused on quality. They're also really critical sometimes. If you happen to not be as detail-oriented as a camel, that might be a communication flaw, and they can be moody as a result. So let's imagine you're painting a room, and if some people might paint a room with a big giant roller, camels would be painting that room with a little detail brush. If someone wants to know what time it is, I'm going to say lion. We'll get to lions here in a minute. But if a lion wants to know what time it is, lions are also task-driven. If a lion wants to know what time it is, the camel wants to take the watch apart and figure out how it works. For a camel, it's not necessarily the end result. Of course, that does matter, but it's the details, the process that you have to go through to get there. Camels in a business organization are process experts, and I can tell you in our organization, if you were to really look at the majority of our technically related staff, not all, but a good chunk of them are camels, because what we do in IT is all about detail, detail, detail. And it is insane how accurate that is. When we hire new staff, it's not like we do kind of mention make a difference, but it's not the sole reason we hire people. But then when we come in, I'll come around afterwards, a week or two after someone joins us, and we'll talk about make a difference, and sure enough, there'll be a camel. It's amazing how accurate it is. So there's systematic thought processors. So if you're in a professional relationship with a camel, how do you validate a camel? So with camels, you have to focus. Let's say you're doing a project. You have to focus on the quality of the task. If you want to destroy a relationship with a camel, withdraw all structure and organization. Camels just simply will not tolerate anyone who does not play by the rules, follow process, or come to a meeting unprepared. So we talked about monkey, and now we're talking about camel. So let's say a camel and a monkey are in a meeting over a project. Camel will get there on time, maybe early. Their paperwork will be perfectly organized. They'll have a pen, probably have an extra pen just in case. They'll have their list of tasks that they've done and a list of tasks that they're going to do. Monkey walks in 5 minutes late because that person was probably down the hall joking around with somebody. And they're, oh, well, I forgot my papers. Let me go grab a cup of coffee, too, while I'm at it. And you can imagine how that would infuriate a camel, because what a camel wants to do is get the task done. And the way to get that task done is to follow all the details of the job. So if a monkey's in a meeting with a camel, it's important for that monkey to be prepared. Don't come to that meeting not prepared. Because if you do that, the camel will immediately just disqualify you as having anything valid to say. Details. But like camels like to hear details. If you're, yeah, go ahead, Nate.
The only thing I'd say, like the inverse of that too, right, is I think this is where, you know, it's, and I know part of this is the balance of all these and how do we work together, but the inverse of that is, one of the things that camels struggle with is there's a kind of a business, I don't know if it's a mantra, but it's definitely a saying as far as momentum over perfection, right? And camels will strive for perfection and sometimes not get the momentum. And so that's one of the challenges, and as well as just recognizing that, camels struggle and get upset when they're not perfect because they want to be perfect. They want to see themselves as perfect. And so sometimes they struggle giving grace to a monkey because they don't recognize that they themselves are not perfect and that they should also extend grace to other people. So those are some of the challenges in particular that camels have just relative to kind of interaction.
Yeah. So if you're a monkey, meeting with a camel, it really does pay in this case for a monkey to maybe moderate some of that behavior, be on time, be prepared, and be prepared to review details. Camels love details. Just a few, I threw together a couple of kind of silly slides here of, kind of demonstrating what Nathan's talking about, how, here's how a camel might view a monkey, kind of sort of the fun, sort of negative-y stuff. But if a monkey comes to a meeting unprepared, camel, this is what a camel's going to think about a monkey, like, how am I ever going to get anything done with these jokers that I'm working with? And then alternatively, what would a monkey think about a camel? So it definitely goes both ways. I'm not trying to lend or remove the ability of any of these kind of personality types to have an effective role in an organization. But yeah, if you can see, I could get off track here pretty quickly if you're not careful. I'm going to keep plugging here, so keep my eye on time. The third, all right, so we talked about monkey. Do you have something, Nate? Is that here?
No, I'm just agreeing that, yeah, let's keep
it moving. I'm sorry. Yeah. Yeah, I'll keep moving things along here. So Tranquil Turtle. Now we're back, or we're still in, we're back in personality territory, people-driven territory. So turtles, unlike monkeys, who like big giant groups of people, turtles like really small, intimate groups. So a turtle tends to avoid the spotlight. A turtle tends to have one or two really intimate colleagues that they talk to the most. And I know in our organization, Nathan, our turtles here it's very often that they'll arrange their office so they can kind of hide behind computer screens, or they'll turn their lights out.
Right.
Right, they'll turn their lights out. So none of that's bad. What it demonstrates is turtles, in fact, it's really good. Turtles are really thoughtful. And Dr. Little believes that turtles are quite possibly the most valuable personality in an organization because they're not always laughing like monkeys or rattling off details like camels, etc. They're actually spending time listening. So there's a lot of wisdom and value in hearing what a turtle has to say, but you have to know how to communicate with a turtle because they are a challenge sometimes. So turtles are so laid back and easygoing. How do you get to that? How do you get to tap into that wisdom they have? So here's how you do it. If you're in a professional relationship with a turtle, how do you validate? It's about one-on-one interpersonal relationships. So let's go back to that meeting scenario. If you're another animal type and you're sitting in a meeting with a turtle, it's about really connecting with it. And it might just be something as like, so I know your mom was in the hospital last week. How's she doing? It could be just a one-line thing like that opens up a turtle's personality, and they'll be much more effective with you. So on the other hand, a quick way to destroy that relationship would be create conflict, chaos, and strife. So this is the equivalent of how in life, in nature, if you tap on a turtle shell, what happens if you tap on a turtle shell and expecting to get a result? Did I lose you, Nathan?
Nope.
If you tap on there you are. If you tap on a turtle shell, we all know what happens, right? The turtle will just retreat into its shell, and you're not going to get anything out of a person who's a turtle. But a lot of times these other animal types will misinterpret a turtle's polite manner as being weak. I've literally heard people, even in my own organization here, sort of presume that if you're not talking in a meeting that there's no value, and that's just not true. It just means you need to give a turtle a platform to be able to express what they have to say. So when you talk to a turtle, be patient, give them a little space, even a little pause or silence, and you'll be amazed at what you hear back. The
only thing I wanted to interject there around that is that I think because oftentimes you get the lions in the room, which we'll touch on that next, I know, but oftentimes turtles just won't communicate until they feel safe and comfortable with all the personalities and the people in the room, and oftentimes they won't communicate unless you, like you said, create that space, literally pauses and/or specifically ask them, what do you think and what's your perspective? Because, and I'll tell you, and you said it earlier, and I think this is why Dr. Little feels that turtles really have a significant value in the organization, is because they are so insightful to people and things, and they listen, like the wisdom that they have, because they're observing and they're taking it all in. Well, more than all the other personality types, and I just it's so, and this is something that we try to be intentional about in our team meetings and recognize the turtles in the room, and make space for them and call on them, because when you give them that opportunity to speak, man, it's so valuable to whatever the conversation is that's going on. So
every time.
It's great. So thank you.
Yeah, and I chose to deliver an explanation of our animal personalities in this particular order because, as you mentioned, lions can be the most challenging sometimes, especially when lions are dealing with turtles. So let's move on and talk about that a little bit. So here's lions. So, in nature, lions are king of the jungle, right? Like, they're big and powerful, and nobody gets in their way, and they roar a lot, and they really have one thing on their mind: I got to eat some food, and I'm going to go find some food, and nobody's going to get in my way. I don't care how much damage I cause on the way to getting that food, but I'm going to get that food, and I'm going to sleep it off. And so lions have the one thing: they want to get the task done. And so lions, a lot of people interpret lions as type A personalities. It's not exactly true. It's not. There are type A personalities who are also lions, but lions are entrepreneurs, business owners, people who have these giant visions, like Steve Jobs, for instance, would be a lion. I think Donald Trump is a lion. People who have this just powerful personality that that tends to just bowl over other people sometimes. And so lions need help. Like, lions don't think they need help, but they do need help. And so lions are big picture thinkers. Now we're back in that task category. So back to that room painting scenario. If you're a lion, you're going to paint a room with a big roller. If you're a camel, doing it with a detail brush. Lions can be perceived as insensitive sometimes because they don't care what color shirt they're wearing. They don't care if you want to hug or tell a joke. So you can imagine how that can cause some conflict sometimes in a work environment. But they're just thinking about the big task, and they're also constantly thinking, when are you going to be done? When are we going to get the task done? That's all I care about. So Dr. Little talks about how they're just always flying at, high level, 30,000 feet. So if you're in a professional relationship with a lion, how do you handle that? How do you validate? Well, you do it through empowering. You have to make sure that you're focusing on getting the task done. So if you want to destroy a relationship with a lion, man, fast way to do that is attack his or her ego. Because lions think, and sometimes do, know everything. But that doesn't mean they're an isolated force in the universe, right? Lions still need to exist within a business and they're dependent on camels, monkeys, and turtles to help facilitate that 30,000 foot level vision that they have. So you can't, when you're talking to a lion, don't attack the lion personally. Like, if there's a criticism about something they've done, if you attack their ego, you're not going to get good results. Lions will just bite back. They won't invest in the relationship if they don't value what you have to say. So when you talk to a lion, just be strong and confident. They really respect strength. Don't get bogged down in details like you would with a camel. Frame your thoughts for big picture thinking, and just always focus on accomplishing the task. So we have some strong lions in our organization, and let's say you had a lion in a meeting with a turtle. Again, these are some of the kind of somewhat comical personality traits that a lion might think about a turtle. But as I pointed out in the myth, we all presume that other people have the same value vision we do. It would be wrong for a lion to presume that a turtle is not an effective fellow staff member in an organization. How do turtles view a lion? Not a shocker here. Lions are so loud and noisy sometimes that turtles particularly can be, as you said, Nathan, turtles can be really vulnerable to feeling kind of overwhelmed by that. So I'm going to move on. Any questions, Nathan? Are we good?
Well, I didn't realize that we have a bit more yet, but yeah, I'll just comment on the lion piece real quick. I know
I can push through like 60 seconds this last part here. Yep.
All right. Is that because I'm a lion camel, so my primary is a lion, and my secondary characteristic is a camel. And so one of the things that I've even struggled with, I tell my members of my team, I try and tame my lion every day, because if I act like a lion to my team members, they're going to feel that way about me. They're going to feel like I'm arrogant, bossy, and pushy.
And nobody will get anything done.
And nobody get anything done because they wouldn't appreciate, they wouldn't want to be led or be part of the same team. And so, some of the little things even that if I look back on my history of working with different team members, that where if I would get interrupted, I know that I visually showed frustration that I got interrupted of getting this task done. I've really been intentional about not doing that, because that gives them the wrong impression, because I want to make sure that they feel like they can interrupt me and come talk to me and work with me. In the morning, like my primary mode of operation is I come in the morning, I got stuff to do. So I want to go right to my office. Yep. I want to sit down and I want to start work. Well, I try and be very intentional nearly every single day to walk around to team members and say good morning, right? That is the last thing that my lion wants to do, but I know it's something that my team members really appreciate, and it's important to make a personal connection with them on a daily basis if possible. So those are some of the things that I like to say, that because I think lions sometimes are oftentimes the most difficult to recognize and tame yourself. And those are some of the little things that at least I feel that I've gotten feedback from my team that have been helpful. And it's an intentional effort nearly every single day to do that. So
when I go out and do my presentations, Nathan, you know how when I go out and do my presentations for people, like one of the exercises that I run through is how you have to get out of your comfort zone, and what you just described is a perfect example of that. Like you have to actively think about doing something that's not just inherent to you. It's a little out of your comfort zone to spend time walking around and just chatting with people, but the value that you get from being a little uncomfortable is invaluable. Like now you've got team members who are like totally on your side and they're going to work toward getting the task done. Let's just super briefly run through like how Mytech did this. So we integrate make a difference concepts into all components of our business. As I mentioned earlier, we have an onboarding process that involves make a difference. There's a little training that we do for every one of our new employees. We continually integrate make a difference on an ongoing basis too. We're sure to maintain the concepts of make a difference. We do client outreach, like this is an example of that. But just the daily language here in our office, like it's very common to hear people say, oh, that's just so-and-so's monkey, or oh, that's, you know, Mr. Jenkins is a camel, so let's make sure and adjust. So all of our employees here use that language regularly. And it's one of the reasons we know that, and I have people, it's crazy, Nathan, I have people, some of our new staff, they're so excited to hear about this make a difference. They can't wait to get their animals, and I'll talk about the animals in a minute here, but here's the test that we give. It's just a short test. This is the cover page, and then here's an example. Like, just ask some questions. I just randomly checked some things here for purposes of demonstration, but it's a 20-question test. It takes like 5 or 10 minutes to take. So we give everybody this test, and that kind of helps discover what kind of animal they are. And then once we figure out what kind of animal you are, we give everybody stuffed animals, little baby, beanie baby type animals. And so every one of our employees has a nameplate like this at their desk, and there's, so Nathan, there you are down in your lion with the big doughy eyes. And so we have some of our employees have fun with this. Like this is Ashley here in our office. So Ashley is a camel turtle. So I don't even know who did this, but they mocked up a picture of she calls herself a Camel turtle. Get it? Camel. I love that picture. Back in our common area, the kitchen area, we keep track of who's a lion, camel, monkey, turtle. That list is constantly changing and evolving as we. But more officially, at Mytech we have a process department, and we have a process for everything. So like this is an example, just a kind of a screenshot of a literal process we have for how we integrate make a difference into the onboarding of our new clients. This is not a video, and I wouldn't have time to play it anyway, but this is me. So I've had other companies in other cities that do what we do ask if I would come and do this presentation for them. And for this particular organization, they're down in Cincinnati. I actually created, because I don't live in Cincinnati, I created a series of short videos for each animal type, and they play these videos for their new employees as a sort of an orientation, onboarding process of their own. So that's kind of part of our outreach. And speaking of outreach and speaking of animals, this is my little puppy, and that's a martini. And that's it. So I think we're kind of sort of a couple minutes over here, I think. So
yeah,
where are we at, Nathan?
We're okay, but one last story. Like, so real quick, it's very short. Can you, and I wanted you to finish with, so where did the title of this presentation come?
Oh, yeah, I forgot. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yep, this is a real life example of what happened, and that's why I named it this. So we have there are 2 employees here who were working on a project together. One of those staff is a lion. The other of those staff is a camel. And the potential conflict there is lions roaring about getting the task done, and camels kind of getting bogged down in the details. That can cause conflict. So they had a meeting one day, and the lion was starting to get a little overpowering in terms of that person's language and expectations, and it was starting to overwhelm the camel. What's that, Nate?
I would say, and they weren't listening they weren't listening to the camel, things like that.
Yeah, and the camel's kind of starting to rattle off some details, some important details, and she was very prepared. And finally, after a few minutes of that, she's also has some line in her too, which kind of made for an interesting conflict, and that's how the title to this presentation came about. She literally exclaimed, and everybody in the whole office heard it. I won't say who it was, but she's just like, "You are killing my lion, or you are killing my camel." Excuse me.
Yeah.
Or yeah, and yeah, your lion is killing my camel. And it just sort of has become office lore here. Like it was an incident where we were able to use the language of Make a Difference to kind of negotiate a truce, if you will. And that lion, I know, he laughs about it since then, and they actually did get a lot more done once she was able to step up and hold her ground.
Yeah.
So that's it. This is my...
Go ahead, Dave.
Well, in conclusion, I'll turn things back over to you, Nathan, but this is my contact information. If anyone would like to reach out and chat about this, I love talking about it. I'm all ears. Just maybe shoot me an email, and I'll reach out to you, and we can pick up the conversation where I left off here.
And thank you all very much for attending and participating. We love talking about this stuff. It has, pun intended, made a difference in our organization and I can tell you, in my personal life and communication. So we hope that this was valuable and helpful, and we'd love to, like as they mentioned, offer up. Please feel free to reach out to either of us if you have any other questions or how you can get in touch. We can make the introductions, or if you just want to have a chat a little bit more about this at some point in the future, we'd absolutely love to do it. So thank you all very much. Recording will be available online here in the next 24 hours, and you'll get that in your follow-up email tomorrow. As far as so you have a link to that and that you can share if you'd like. So thank you very much for joining us on the Mytech U May edition of Your Lion is Killing My Camel, and have a great day.